Hi everyone, my name is Beth Brown and I am counsel in the pensions group at Mayer Brown. Welcome to this episode. In these episodes, we cover different topics each month, providing an overview of the issues faced by pension industry practitioners and offering some practical insight. The time spent listening to these episodes can count towards solicitors' continuing competence and PMI CPD requirements. All the episodes are available on our Mayer Brown YouTube channel, as well as iTunes, Google Play and Yahoo. You can also subscribe to this channel so that new episodes are shown automatically in your subscriptions feed. Hi everyone. In this episode, I'm continuing with the Pension Scheme Act 2021 theme. I'm going to talk about the new authorisation and supervision regime for collective money purchase schemes set out in draft regulations which are currently being consulted on. The draft Occupational Pension Schemes Collective Money Purchase Schemes Regulations 2021 were published on the 19th of July by the Department for Work and Pensions, and the consultation closes on the 31st of August this year. So, as I typically do, I want to start with a bit of background. You will probably all be aware that the Pension Scheme Act 2021 introduced the statutory framework for the establishment, administration, authorisation and supervision of collective money purchase schemes, with the detail to be set out in regulations. The framework set out in the Pension Scheme Act aims to ensure that collective money purchase schemes are well run, protect members' interests, have an effective framework to communicate with members, and that the pensions regulator can intervene when necessary to further protect members' interests. Before we delve into the detail, I think it would be helpful to quickly summarise what a collective money purchase scheme is. So a collective money purchase scheme is a new type of money purchase or defined contribution pension scheme set up under trust by one or more connected employers, which is authorised by the pensions regulator as a collective money purchase scheme. This type of scheme provides employers with certainty because it allows employers, as well as members, to pay a fixed contribution rate. This is obviously attractive to employers as it reduces their exposure to that uncertain funding obligation. From a member's perspective, collective money purchase schemes are likely to seem less volatile than the typical DC scheme because they allow members to pool their assets, which means that members can spread the risk by sharing the investment and longevity risk with the other savers. Members are promised a target, as opposed to guaranteed, pension on retirement. The pension can be reduced if investment returns are poor and annual increases and revaluation rates vary according to the investment returns. From a trustee perspective, while there will be additional considerations to ensure that a scheme meets the conditions to be authorised as a collective money purchase scheme, which I'll come on to shortly, the day-to-day governance of this type of new scheme will be largely similar to that of a DC scheme, albeit with some necessary adjustments. For example, there will be some amendments to the disclosure requirements applicable to DC schemes, as collective money purchase schemes will have to make it clear that benefits in a collective money purchase scheme can fluctuate. Now I will move on to the detail of what the regulations say. The regulations set out the authorisation conditions that the pensions regulator will assess against when deciding whether a scheme qualifies as a collective money purchase scheme. These include that 1. The person involved in the scheme are fit and proper persons. When assessing this condition, the pensions regulator will consider matters falling into 3 categories, being competence, conduct and integrity. 2. The design of the scheme is sound. This will be evidenced by a trustee viability report and supported by an accompanying actuarial viability certificate. 3. The scheme is financially sustainable. 4. The scheme has adequate systems and processes in place for communicating with members. 5. The system and processes used in running the scheme are sufficient to run it effectively. And 6. The scheme has an adequate continuity strategy. There will also be a flat rate authorisation fee payable, although the exact amount of this fee is not yet known. Like it did in relation to the new criminal offences introduced by the Pension Scheme Act, the regulator is expected to issue guidance to accompany the new requirements in these draft regulations. This guidance will set out what it expects of schemes wanting to be authorised as a collective money purchase scheme, and will be subject to separate consultation. The pensions regulator will also, like it does for recognised overseas pension schemes, publish and maintain a list of those schemes that have been authorised as collective money purchase schemes. Once authorisation as a collective money purchase scheme has been granted, the scheme will need to continue to meet the conditions on an ongoing basis. Failure to do so could lead to the pensions regulator withdrawing its authorisation. The supervisory regime makes it clear that collective money purchase schemes will be expected to work productively and proactively with the pensions regulator when changes to a scheme need to be made. To help the pensions regulator with monitoring collective money purchase schemes, the regulations set out events which must be notified to the regulator and information which must be provided to it, for example through a supervisory return. The exact details of such events and information is expected to be set out in the regulator's accompanying guidance. It is also worth noting that the pensions regulator will be able to intervene when needed. For example, the regulator will be able to issue a risk notice to trustees if it thinks the scheme will, or is likely to, breach the authorisation criteria if an issue of concern is not resolved. It is expected that the introduction of collective money purchase schemes will be well received by the industry for the reasons mentioned already, but it remains to be seen how widely such schemes will be adopted in practice. So watch this space. Thank you for listening. This episode is an overview of the law in this area, and how the law will apply in any particular case will depend on the individual circumstances. Please therefore remember to seek legal advice on your particular circumstances.